In December of 2022, investigators in Northern Ireland stumbled onto one of the most perplexing crime scenes they had ever handled, one where their only suspect appeared to be in two places at once. It began on the evening of December 18th, when Irish YouTuber VoteSaxon07, real name Stephen McCullough, started a gaming live stream from his home in Lisburn. At 6 p.m., he went live, playing Grand Theft Auto, Vice City for nearly 6 uneventful hours. The stream was quiet, slow-paced, and ordinary. Stephen barely spoke, and nothing seemed out of place. But while he sat comfortably in his home, unaware of anything unusual happening outside, his girlfriend, 32-year-old Natalie McNally, was fighting for her life. Natalie had spent the early evening watching the World Cup final with her parents before returning home. She lived alone with her pets, was 15 weeks pregnant with Stephen's child, and had given no indication that she felt unsafe. But by the next morning, no one could reach her. She wasn't answering her phone, hadn't shown up for work, and wasn't responding to messages. Alarmed, Stephen drove to her house, about 20 minutes away. What he found would alter the course of the investigation immediately. The front door was open. Inside, Natalie was lying motionless on the floor.
Detectives from the Major Investigation Team have now launched a murder investigation following the death of Natalie McNally in Lurgan. This follows the results of the post-mortem. The 32-year-old died a violent death, having been stabbed a number of times, and there are signs of defensive injuries.
A post-mortem later confirmed she had been killed that same night, shortly after returning from her parents' home. But there were no signs of forced entry. And because Stephen was the one who found her body, he instantly became the prime suspect. Investigators arrested him, but the arrest didn't last long. His alibi was airtight. Natalie had been killed during the hours he was visibly streaming online. A text message from Stephen to Natalie at 5:57 p.m. read, "Right? I'm off to stream the night away. Wish me luck." Natalie replied, "I might have a peek at your live stream later." On paper, it seemed impossible for him to be involved, but the trail went cold until detectives reviewed CCTV from the neighborhood. They found footage of a man approaching Natalie's house at 8:52 p.m., then leaving roughly 40 minutes later. His height, his body shape, even his posture, all matched Stephen. But how could he be at her house and live streaming at the same time? With no answers, police issued a £20,000 reward. They feared the killer may have already fled the country. Memorials appeared across Northern Ireland. Pressure mounted. And then finally, on January 31st, investigators made a shocking discovery. Stephen's stream wasn't live at all. It was a pre-recorded video, staged to look like a live stream. Everything he had done that night was planned. The recording found on his computer was dated December 14th, 4 days before the murder. Detectives also located a taxi driver who recalled picking up a man matching Stephen's description near Natalie's house at 9:30 p.m. and dropping him off at Stephen's home minutes later. The man had even run inside to get his wallet, confirming he had entered Stephen's residence. Suddenly, all the odd moments in the live stream made sense. The suspicious title, "The Violent Night Christmas Live Gaming Stream." His repeated mentions of the date. His excuse about technical issues to avoid interacting with the chat. His strange jokes about killing characters in the game. His unsettling pun on Natalie's name.
Well, because this streaming software is kind of up the left, it means I can't check the live chat, which is a real shame. So, by all means, talk amongst yourselves.
He had intentionally avoided speaking to the audience, so no one would notice the stream wasn't live.
Hello to all on this glorious Sunday evening. So I just thought, why not? I'm gonna do a live stream because this day next week is Christmas. So what more could you want for Christmas other than an evening with your old pal Stephen?
He made sure to emphasize the date repeatedly, an exaggerated attempt to lock in an alibi.
I need to kill it. I need to take her down. 'Cause I won't pass the mission if I don't get this to die. Tra-la-la.
A moment where he sang about killing someone in game suddenly felt chillingly symbolic.
Yeah, that's physics. That's what would happen in the real world. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Another moment where he laughed at a pun sounding like Natalie's name now seemed disturbingly intentional. But the most disturbing moment of all came halfway through. While on a break, the back soon screen suddenly switched to a James Bond poster titled "No Time to Die." He had claimed this was an accident, that he dropped his controller onto the keyboard. But now that investigators knew the stream had been pre-recorded, it became clear. He inserted that poster deliberately at the exact time he was at Natalie's house committing the murder. The timestamp? Around 9:15 p.m. Precisely when Natalie was killed. With the evidence overwhelming, Stephen was charged with murder and denied bail, his trial still pending to this day. For Natalie's family, the truth offers little comfort, but it brings hope that justice is finally approaching. And with that, we jump into a case where the missing child wasn't missing at all, just hidden in plain sight. On June 25, 2014, a man named Charles Bothwell appeared on the Nancy Grace Show, pleading for help. His 12-year-old son, Charlie, had been missing from their Detroit home for 11 days. Charles told viewers that he had done everything he could, walking door to door, passing out flyers, cooperating with the FBI. For nearly 2 weeks, there had been no trace of the boy, and hope was fading fast. Going on live television was his last attempt to reach someone, anyone, who might know what happened. But just minutes into the broadcast, the interview took a shocking turn. Nancy interrupted Charles with breaking news that would flip the entire case upside down.
The father of the missing 12-year-old boy, Charlie, with me is his father, Charlie Bothell. Charlie.
While Charles was speaking on live TV, investigators executed a search warrant on his home. Hidden deep in the basement, behind a barricade of boxes and barrels, they found Charlie alive, huddled, frightened, and visibly injured. And focusing on his son's well-being, Charles tried to argue with the report, denying any involvement far darker than anyone watching expected. When investigators interviewed Charlie, he revealed that his stepmother, Monique Dillard Bothwell, had ordered him to hide in the basement. She instructed him not to make a single sound, no matter what he heard happening upstairs. Meanwhile, Charles and Monique publicly acted as though the boy had vanished into thin air, staging searches and claiming heartbreak. They were also unusually uncooperative with law enforcement, slowing the investigation to a crawl. Police ultimately sought a search warrant because they suspected something even worse, that Charlie might already be dead. But why would his parents do this? To this day, their motives remain unclear. Both Charles and Monique deny forcing Charlie to hide, despite overwhelming evidence. But investigators discovered bruises, cuts, and signs of physical abuse on the boy. They also learned he'd been subjected to a brutal daily workout routine: 100 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, and 100 jumping jacks, twice each day. He was homeschooled, isolated, and living under strict control. Hiding him away may have been a way to continue that control, free from outside scrutiny. Regardless of their intentions, the truth was undeniable. Charlie had been abused and forced into hiding while the search for him became a citywide crisis. The couple was arrested soon after. Though they avoided jail time through a plea deal, they lost custody of Charlie permanently. He now lives safely with other relatives, finally free from the environment that kept him hidden, hurt, and unheard. Now from one broadcast that revealed the truth, to another that showed something viewers were never meant to see. On September 28, 2012, viewers across the United States tuned in to what they thought was just another live police chase. A Fox News helicopter was following a stolen vehicle tearing across the Arizona desert, driven by 33-year-old Joe Don Romero, a previously convicted felon who had taken the car at gunpoint outside a Denny's restaurant in Tonopah. As patrol units closed in, Romero began firing out the window, forcing officers to retreat and wait for backup. From above, the helicopter kept its distance, capturing every tense moment as Romero sped through open highways and dirt roads, clearly desperate and increasingly unstable. Then, without warning, he veered off the main road, skidded to a stop, and bolted from the stolen car.
You never know. Maybe he's taking the carjacked victim to the victim's house. Now, this scares me. What are you doing out in the middle of nowhere, getting out of the car? I'm just not sure about this. He's getting things out of the vehicle, clearly.
Seconds later, the live footage showed Romero sprinting wildly across the desert, stumbling, panting, and still clutching a handgun. He looked disoriented, like a man trapped in his final moment with nowhere left to run. What happened next stunned every viewer watching in real time. With no hesitation, Romero raised the gun, aimed at himself, and pulled the trigger. The helicopter camera captured everything. The broadcast did not cut away in time.
Get off, 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 get off it, get off it, get off it, get off it!
Anchor Shepard Smith, horrified, shouted, "Get off it! Get off it!" as the feed suddenly went black. But it was too late. The moment had already been televised live to millions of homes, including families with children who had been casually watching afternoon news. The backlash was immediate. Critics accused Fox News of recklessness for continuing a raw live feed without a delay system that could have prevented the graphic broadcast of a man's death.
Sometimes we see a lot of things that we don't let get to you because it's not time appropriate, it's insensitive, it's just wrong. And that was wrong. And that won't happen again on my watch. And I'm sorry.
Romero's wife, Angela, later filed a lawsuit claiming the broadcast had traumatized her and their children, who eventually found the clip online and realized the man dying on camera was their father. The lawsuit was dismissed. The court ruled the chase was a matter of public interest. Over time, the story faded from headlines, but millions who watched that afternoon never forgot it. The 2012 Fox News broadcast remains one of the most disturbing moments in live television history. A brutal reminder that real-time news carries real consequences, and sometimes no one has time to look away. Now, with that in mind, prepare yourself for this next one, as it shows something even more devastating. On the morning of August 26, 2015, WDBJ reporter Allison Parker, just 24 years old, and her cameraman, 27-year-old Adam Ward, arrived at Bridgewater Plaza near Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia. Their assignment was simple: conduct a live interview with Chamber of Commerce Director Vicki Gardner about an upcoming community event. Adam set up the camera, Allison prepared her questions, and at 6:45 a.m., the segment went live. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming, just another morning broadcast. But lurking just outside the frame was a man none of them expected to see again. Someone who had watched, waited, and followed them to this exact location. Just seconds into the interview, he stepped forward, raised a gun, and opened fire. The broadcast instantly cut back to the stunned in-studio anchor, leaving thousands of viewers horrified and confused by what they had just witnessed.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. We will, of course, let you know as soon as we find out what those sounds were from.
By the time first responders arrived, both Allison and Adam had already succumbed to their injuries. Vicki, though severely wounded, survived by playing dead, an instinct that ultimately saved her life. Meanwhile, the shooter had disappeared. With no clear CCTV footage and no immediate leads, investigators were stuck at a standstill. But then WDBJ technicians reviewed the live segment frame by frame. In one blurry moment, they uncovered something chilling: a recognizable outline of the gunman. It was 41-year-old Vester Lee Flanagan, known on air as Bryce Williams, a former reporter for the station. He had worked alongside Allison and Adam before being fired for repeated acts of aggression and threatening behavior. And yet, the truth behind his attack ran deeper than a grudge. Flanagan had a long history of workplace instability. In 2000, he was fired from NBC affiliate WTWC for what coworkers described as odd and intimidating behavior. Rather than take responsibility, he filed a racial discrimination lawsuit, one that ended in a quiet settlement. From then on, his career became a revolving door of short contracts, conflicts, and escalating anger toward colleagues.
He had increasing conflicts with people at the station, especially the floor crew, some of the other reporters, some of the photographers in the field, to the point where he was threatening people, had some physical confrontations with a couple of people, and at one point became such a distraction that we finally had to terminate him.
When Flanagan joined WDBJ in 2012, the pattern returned immediately, only worse. Within months, staff members reported feeling threatened by him. He lashed out verbally, intimidated co-workers, and repeatedly accused others of targeting him. The station finally terminated him in January 2013. Police were required to escort him out after he refused to leave and threatened management. He later accused Allison and Adam of racism, likely because he knew they had filed complaints. But an independent investigation found zero evidence to support his claims. After losing his job, Flanagan struggled to secure work. His resentment grew into obsession. And on August 26, 2015, he acted on the hate he'd been nurturing for years. He located Adam and Allison's assignment through social media, tracked them to Bridgewater Plaza, and waited. As their segment began, he walked behind the camera and opened fire, recording everything from his own point of view. Because Adam's camera only captured a partial silhouette, investigators were hesitant to identify Flanagan with absolute certainty until 8:26 a.m., when ABC News received a 23-page manifesto from him admitting to the attack. It was filled with angry rants and unstable reasoning, referencing everything from workplace conflict to the Charleston church shooting. The logic was fractured, and none of it justified the violence. Then, at 11:14 a.m., he posted his POV footage of the shooting on Facebook, removing any lingering doubt. Police tracked his cell signal and located him fleeing the state in a rented vehicle. At 11:20 a.m., they attempted to pull him over, but he sped away, eventually crashing on the side of the highway. Before officers could reach him, he used the same gun to take his own life, ending the manhunt within minutes. Now this next moment shows a different kind of fear, one that stopped the sports world cold. On January 2nd, 2023, millions of fans tuned in to watch Monday Night Football as the Buffalo Bills faced the Cincinnati Bengals. What unfolded on the field that night would become one of the most shocking and emotional moments in modern sports history. At 8:55 p.m., Bills safety Damar Hamlin made what looked like a routine tackle on Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. It was the kind of hit that happens hundreds of times each season, hard, clean, and unremarkable. But moments after standing up, Hamlin suddenly lost all strength and collapsed backward onto the turf. The stadium fell silent. This wasn't a typical injury. Hamlin wasn't moving. He wasn't responding. Medical staff sprinted onto the field, surrounding him as players stepped back in disbelief. Some cried, some prayed. Others turned away, unable to watch. CPR began almost immediately. A defibrillator was used to restart his heart, right there on the field, live on national television. The game was halted, then suspended entirely. Hamlin was rushed to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center in critical condition as millions waited through the night for updates. Across the country, fans, celebrities, and athletes united in support. His charity toy drive, originally hoping for $2,500, received millions in donations within hours. Doctors later confirmed the cause: commotio cordis, a rare and catastrophic event where a sudden impact hits the chest at the exact millisecond that disrupts the heart's rhythm. In most cases, survival is unlikely, but 9 days later, a miracle happened. Damar Hamlin opened his eyes, began breathing on his own, and started recovering. By spring 2023, he was cleared to return to practice. He later said he never stopped believing he would play again. His collapse, his fight for life, and his recovery became one of the most powerful reminders in sports. That sometimes heroes aren't made by touchdowns, but by the battles they survive when everything stops. Now, from a collapse seen in real time, we head into a live stream that captured a completely different kind of emergency. On April 4th, 2020, 24-year-old Ernest Wilson logged onto Facebook Live during a house party, unaware that he was broadcasting the final moments of his life. Ernest was a warehouse worker in Baltimore with a love for parties, games, and turning ordinary nights into chaotic celebrations. But when the pandemic shut down clubs and bars, he adapted by renting Airbnbs and hosting invite-only game nights with a small entry fee. They grew quickly in popularity. By early April, Ernest was planning a 2-night event, hyping it up online and reminding people not to bring uninvited guests, a warning that now feels eerily significant. That night, the party started off just like the others: music, drinking, and a crowd having fun. But around 2:30 a.m., Ernest told everyone it was time to play hide and seek. As the first seeker, he began counting in the backyard.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But as soon as he started searching, he ran into something no one expected.
1, 2, 3. Who the is that, G?
I don't know. I'm in your face.
Get your on the other side of this gate. Who the? This can't be one of my friends.
A stranger was trying to climb over the fence, someone attempting to break into the property. Rather than retreat inside and call police, Ernest, likely buzzed from drinking, decided to confront the intruder. It was a deadly mistake. The intruder was armed, and the confrontation escalated quickly. Moments later, Ernest was shot, his final breaths captured on his live stream. Police arrived minutes later, finding him lying in a pool of blood at 2:45 a.m. They believed it was a robbery gone wrong, but others weren't so sure. During the struggle, a girl's faint laugh could be heard in the background. Some viewers claimed she was an accomplice, someone who guided the intruder, and that she knew exactly who was climbing the fence. But police never identified the suspect. No arrests were made, and Ernest's case remains unsolved to this day, another cold file in a city plagued by violence. 5 years later, whatever motive drove the attacker remains buried in silence. Now, after that single shooter inside a backyard, this next footage captured a gunman firing at cars on a major interstate. On September 7th, 2024, drivers traveling along I-75 near London, Kentucky, suddenly found themselves in a nightmare. A 32-year-old man named Joseph Couch was firing at vehicles from the roadside, striking 12 cars and injuring 5 people. Miraculously, no one was killed. Before authorities could reach him, Joseph vanished into the dense forests of the Daniel Boone National Forest, triggering a massive manhunt. Investigators quickly dug into his background and uncovered a deeply troubled past. He had served in the Army Reserve from 2013 to 2019 before being honorably discharged due to PTSD. But even before the shooting, Joseph had a violent record. In 2015, he threw a rock at a dog and pointed an AR-15 at its owner. Later that year, he was arrested again for providing alcohol to a minor and vandalizing private property. He served 6 months in jail, did 200 hours of community service, and paid heavy fines. Then they discovered the messages he'd sent to his ex-girlfriend before the shooting. "I'm going to kill a lot of people. I'll kill myself afterwards." Authorities realized they were hunting someone ready for a final standoff.
The search for the suspected highway gunman, Joseph Couch, intensifies as law enforcement has expanded its search efforts. State police say they are extending their search deeper into the Daniel Boone National Forest as the manhunt for Couch enters day 7.
Entire sections of Interstate 75 were closed. Local schools shut down. police feared Joseph would strike again. They eventually located his abandoned SUV filled with ammo cases, but found no trace of Joseph himself. With nowhere else to turn, they announced a $35,000 reward. That's when Fred and Sheila McCoy, owners of a small Hatfield and McCoy museum, stepped in. They'd spent their whole lives exploring the Kentucky wilderness and believed they could help. They live-streamed their search on YouTube, both to document their effort and, perhaps, to earn the reward.
$35,000. That's a sweet little piece of money. We're going looking for him. We're hoping he finds us, but we're going looking for this Couch guy, Joseph Couch.
They moved through the forest methodically, confident they knew the terrain better than anyone. And then they noticed something. A cluster of vultures circling over the same patch of trees. They followed the birds.
Oh! Got him! Here he is!
You found him? Oh, my Lanta. I'm coming. Oh, my Lanta, you found him? Oh, my Lanta!
30 minutes later, they found a body. The authorities rushed to the scene. DNA confirmed it was Joseph Couch. An autopsy determined he had carried out the final act he had promised in his messages, taking his own life in the forest after the shooting. After 13 tense days, the manhunt ended. The threat was gone. The highway reopened. And the McCoys livestream captured one of the most unusual amateur discoveries in recent true crime history. Now, last but not least, we head to a reporter who misjudged a moment on the tracks. A TV reporter was filming near a railway line when she heard an approaching train and decided to push the shot one step further. She wanted something dynamic, something that would give her story a powerful visual punch. The plan was simple: step into the frame as the train thundered behind her, letting the motion and noise elevate her piece into something cinematic. But there was a problem she didn't account for. Turning around to check the train's distance would ruin the timing of the shot, so she didn't. She trusted sound alone, a gamble far more dangerous than she realized. Trains are deceptive. Their speed is nearly impossible to judge by ear, and by the time you feel the vibration in the ground, it's already too late. She stepped onto the track anyway.
Let's take 2, 89th and Ashland. Oh shit. Here, oh, let's do it with the train. Go. 3, 2, 1. It was 20 minutes after midnight. Oh shit! Scared me!
She leapt off the tracks with only inches to spare. On film, it looks close. But in reality, it was terrifyingly close. A few inches, a single heartbeat, separating her from a fatal impact. And here's the harsh truth. Most people who make that mistake never get a second chance. Train accidents kill over 1,000 people every year in the United States alone. Worldwide, thousands more lose their lives in incidents where misjudgment, distraction, or a split-second error puts them in the path of a machine that weighs hundreds of tons and cannot stop in time. For many victims, there is no warning, no miraculous jump, no lucky escape. That reporter had one of the rare outcomes, a near miss instead of a tragedy. But the footage stands as a chilling reminder of how unforgiving railway lines can be. A single miscalculation, and the story she was trying to capture could easily have become the story told about her. Now that was all for today, folks. If you enjoyed these horrifying clips, click to see more on the video on screen.